The day I received my husband William's devastating fertility report, I overheard him whispering promises of divorce and marriage into the phone to another woman. His subsequent attempt to feign ignorance about his health, coupled with the hidden medical truth, ignited a cold fire within me. He wanted out. Fine. But not on his terms. Not after 8 years built on what I now realized was a foundation of lies. He thought he could discard me for his past love, keep his reputation, and half our assets? He was about to learn just how wrong he was. The sterile white of the clinic, the antiseptic smell clinging to the air, it all felt suffocating. I clutched the report, the stark black ink swimming before my eyes. Sperm motility, 0%. Azoospermia. The word echoed in the sudden silence of my world. I sat on a cold, hard bench in the hospital corridor, the cheerful afternoon sun outside mocking the darkness that had enveloped me. William. My William. Infertile. We'd been together for 8 years, 6 dating, 2 married. He was Dr. William Ashton, a respected astrophysicist, brilliant and reserved in his professional life, almost intimidatingly calm with a subtle air of detachment. That was the man the world saw. But the William the first knew, the one behind closed doors, was different. He was warmth and passion, playful energy wrapped in a ridiculously handsome package. He'd cook elaborate meals, leave silly notes, cling to me like a big, affectionate puppy after a long day peering at distant galaxies. My friends constantly reminded me of my incredible luck, finding such a perfect husband. I'd always agreed. The first year of marriage was a blur of his demanding research projects. Children weren't feasible then. The second year, we stopped using protection, eagerly anticipating the next chapter. With his enthusiasm in the bedroom, I'd secretly imagined getting pregnant almost instantly. 10 months passed. 10 months of meticulously tracked cycles, hopeful whispers in the dark, and that familiar, sinking disappointment each month. As I approached 30, the biological clock wasn't just ticking, it was sounding alarms. I finally convinced William, after much gentle persuasion, to get checked. If you truly want a child, the kind-faced fertility specialist had said, her eyes full of sympathy directed solely at me, we can explore surgical sperm retrieval. If successful, IVF is an option. IVF. Needles, hormones, procedures. But still a chance. I sat there for 2 hours just breathing, processing, collecting the shattered pieces of our imagined future, and trying to fit them back together. I decided then and there. If IVF was possible, I'd do it. If not, well, I wouldn't leave him. Despite everything, I loved the man, or at least, the man I thought he was. The taxi ride home was a haze. I rehearsed how I'd tell him gently, supportively, we'd face this together. I let myself into our quiet, darkened brownstone. He wasn't usually home this early. I reached for the light switch, but his voice, low and intense, drifted from the study. Amelia, just wait a little longer. I'm figuring out how to divorce her now. I swear, I will marry you. My hand froze inches from the switch. My blood turned to ice water. I've missed too many years with you already, Amelia. His voice continued, thick with an earnestness I hadn't heard in ages. I won't lose you again. Through the sliver of the partially open door, I saw him. His profile was etched against the glow of his laptop screen. His expression fiercely determined. His gaze filled with a burning heat I hadn't seen directed at me in how long. He was completely absorbed in the woman on the other end, oblivious to my presence. He ended the call. I waited, heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird, then deliberately made noise, the clatter of keys on the hall table, a sigh of feigned tiredness announcing my arrival. You're back. William emerged from the study, his usual warm smile plastered on his face, moving to embrace me. I managed, stepping aside, my mind reeling. Long day. Need a shower. I retreated to the bathroom, the warm water doing little to thaw the chill that had settled deep in my bones. Later, showered and wrapped in a robe, I sat numbly on the edge of our bed. He came in, rummaging in his bedside drawer, pulling out a small, crumpled prescription slip clearly not from any recent doctor visit. He approached me, his brow furrowed with mock concern, eyes wide with feigned vulnerability. Honey, he began, his voice soft. There's something I have to tell you. On that work trip last week, during a break, I saw this naturopath. Just randomly. He took my pulse, said something about my kidneys being weak, adrenal fatigue. I didn't believe him, of course. Utter nonsense. Did my results from the clinic come back yet? The crumpled prescription, the feigned worry, the lie. And in my purse, hidden beneath my wallet, lay the real report. The stark clinical truth of his 0% motility. The truth he clearly had no intention of facing, or perhaps already knew and was desperately trying to conceal behind a smokescreen of quackery and deflection. A slow, cold smile touched my lips. So that's how he wanted to play it. Fine. Oh, that naturopath must have been mistaken, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, even light. I got the report today. The doctor said you're perfectly fine. Excellent, in fact. Having a baby won't be an issue at all. It'll happen when it happens. His face broke into a relieved, confident grin. See, I knew it. All that worrying for nothing. The warm lamplight caught the angles of his face, the dark fringe of hair falling over his brow, his amber eyes fixed on me, supposedly full of love. The same face, the same eyes. But suddenly, it was like looking at a stranger. A very convincing actor playing the role of my husband. I gave myself one night to mourn the death of the marriage I thought I had, to let the shockwaves subside, and to detach my heart from the wreckage. Finding out about Amelia wasn't difficult. Looking back, the signs were there, glaringly obvious now that the veil of trust had been ripped away. His usual punctual return at 7 p.m. had shifted to 8:30 p.m. over the past month. Simulations and calculations, he claimed. Intense project deadlines. The next evening, I parked my car down the street from the prestigious observatory where he worked. At precisely 6 p.m., long before his supposed overtime ended, William emerged, practically skipping to his car. I followed at a discreet distance. He didn't drive towards home. Instead, he pulled up outside a quaint, slightly struggling independent bookstore, cafe a few blocks from our neighborhood. He hurried inside, a man on a mission. I watched from my car as he moved behind the counter with practiced ease, helping bag purchases, making change. His gaze kept drifting towards a woman with soft brown hair tied back, who was arranging books on a nearby shelf. There was an intensity in his look, a deep, swirling current that mirrored the darkening evening sky outside. Later, when the sparse trickle of customers subsided, they sat together at a small corner table. William patiently fed spoonfuls of mac and cheese to a small boy, laughing and talking with the woman. Amelia. It was a picture of domestic bliss. A stolen one. I thought I'd be numb clinical, but the tremor in my hands, as I gripped the steering wheel, betrayed the storm raging inside. 500 meters. This charade was happening practically on our doorstep. And I recognized her. Amelia Rhodes. From his college graduation photos. I remembered teasing him about her years ago, pointing her out. This Amelia Rhodes is pretty cute, I'd said casually, leaning against him. Looks like she has a lot of personality. He'd paused for a fraction of a second too long before replying blandly. Yeah, she was all right. I lifted my phone, snapping pictures. Evidence. Useful for the divorce, perhaps, but it felt insufficient. A pale reflection of the betrayal's depth. I arrived home moments before him. He walked in, instantly switching back into his devoted husband persona. Sophia, darling, you must be freezing. How about I make you some hot chocolate? The special kind with the marshmallows? My eyes scanned his collar. A faint, almost imperceptible smudge of crimson lipstick. Deliberately, I sniffed the air near him. Is that rose perfume I smell? He flinched just slightly. Oh, must be the new air freshener they put in the observatory offices today. Rose-scented. Gets everywhere. He laughed nervously, a sound that didn't reach his eyes. The lie hung heavy and awkward in the air between us. He knew it was flimsy. I knew it was flimsy. And I knew why he hadn't officially asked for a divorce yet. Money. Power. My family's connections had recently facilitated a significant grant for his current research project, a project that, if successful, could elevate him to a partnership level within the observatory's senior staff. It wasn't just my money, it was the opportunity he craved. He'd begged me to pull strings, framing it as something that would benefit us as a family. His success would be our success, he'd promised. Now I saw it for what it was, leverage. The next day, While he was safely ensconced among his stars and equations, I drove back to the bookstore cafe. I ordered a black coffee, found a seat by the window, and watched Amelia interact with customers. She had a low bun, soft tendrils framing her face. The vibrant energy from the graduation photo had mellowed into a quiet, almost weary grace. Suddenly, a shadow fell over my table. Amelia stood there, offering a gentle, knowing smile. "You must be Sophia, William's wife. I have to say, he has good taste." She slid into the chair opposite me before I could respond. "I know why you're here," she continued, her voice soft but firm. "But you should know. I'm not the one you should be angry with. William sought me out. He's the one pursuing this, not me." A bitter laugh escaped me. Is that the standard excuse for homewreckers these days? So brazen. Amelia took a slow sip of her own latte, shrugging delicately. "I haven't slept with him since he married you. We haven't made anything official. How am I a homewrecker? Besides," she added, her eyes meeting mine with a cool challenge, "the one who isn't loved is the third wheel, wouldn't you agree?" Before I could retort, she delivered the blow she'd clearly been saving. "If I hadn't had to move abroad after college, he never would have married you." She then launched into their story. College sweethearts torn apart by her family's emigration. They'd both married other people. Then 6 months ago, tragedy struck her life, a messy divorce, leaving her a single mother. She returned stateside, opened the bookstore, and reconnected with William at a class reunion. Fate, she implied. "Ah!" Amelia suddenly cried out, jolting violently. Hot coffee splashed across her blouse, dark stains spreading rapidly. I stared, bewildered, about to ask what was wrong, when William burst through the door as if summoned. He flew across the small space, pulling Amelia protectively behind him, his face contorted with rage directed entirely at me. "Sophia, what the hell are you doing? If you have a problem, take it up with me. Why are you harassing her like this? Is this amusing to you?" Amelia clutched at his arm, tears instantly welling, rolling down her cheeks like perfectly timed props. "William, please don't. It's my fault. Sophia, I'm so sorry." William immediately softened towards her, pulling her into his arms, murmuring comforting words. "Amelia, it's okay. I'm here now. You don't have to endure this alone. I won't let anyone hurt you." He called her Amelia, not the pet name I'd heard on the phone, but the tenderness was unmistakable. A harsh laugh scraped my throat. The sound was raw, laced with a pain so sharp it almost tasted metallic. For 8 years, during intimate moments of supposed deep connection, he'd whispered my nickname, Sophomore. Or had he? Had it always been a shortened version of her name? He was murmuring against my skin? The thought was nauseating. "Are you two quite finished?" My voice was icier than I expected. "Sophia, you always preach about women supporting women," William snapped, his protective stance unwavering. "And yet here you are, tormenting Amelia. She's finally getting back on her feet, raising her son alone. Are you trying to destroy their lives?" He radiated an aura of righteous indignation, as if I were the one caught in betrayal. "Sophia dear, you've misunderstood," Amelia chimed in, her voice trembling slightly, laced with faux sincerity. "William and I are just old friends now. He's a married man." Her voice dropped, heavy with manufactured sadness. "There's no future for us." She turned to William, her eyes pleading. "William, please, you should go. Don't come here anymore. Go home to your wife. Be happy. I'll be happy for you." "No. Amelia, that's not true," William protested urgently. "As long as you want me, I'll be here for you. Always." They played out their dramatic scene, lost in their own narrative. "Done," I interrupted flatly. "Finished with the performance? William, perhaps you should check the cafe's security footage? See who actually spilled the coffee, me or your damsel in distress executing a rather clumsy bit of stagecraft." William hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. But Amelia quickly choked out a sob. You knew my security camera broke 2 days ago. Why would you say that? Why are you trying to frame me? What have I ever done to you?" That was all it took. The doubt in William's eyes vanished, replaced by cold disgust. Just then an older woman, presumably a neighboring shop owner, poked her head in, broom in hand. "Amelia, honey, what's going on? Who's bothering you? Let Martha handle this. Her sharp gaze landed on me. You're the one causing trouble for this poor woman and her child? Splashing coffee all over her? I ought to sweep you right out of here, you bully. Picking on someone weaker than you. The floor was messy. Amelia looked victimized, and William and Martha stood as her fierce protectors. I met Martha's glare evenly. Ma'am, is it impossible that she might be the one causing trouble for me? Nonsense. Martha retorted hotly. We all know Amelia. She's the sweetest, kindest soul. A bit quiet, maybe, but strong. Always helping out around here. She wouldn't hurt a fly. Ma'am, I said calmly, gesturing towards William. Do you see this man beside her? He's my husband. And just moments ago, he was embracing your kind, sweet Amelia rather intimately. Now considering that, let's go. We're going home. Stop embarrassing yourself out here. Before I could finish, William grabbed my arm, his fingers digging painfully into my skin, and practically dragged me out of the shop. The drive home was thick with unspoken fury. He gripped the steering wheel, jaw clenched, staring straight ahead. In the past, this stony silence was my cue to crumble, apologize, write him long, pleading emails begging him to forgive whatever perceived slight had upset him. Not this time. I remained silent, staring out my own window. Back in our living room, we faced each other across the expensive coffee table that suddenly felt like a battlefield demarcation line. William finally broke the silence with a contemptuous sneer. All right, Sophia. You saw us. No point pretending anymore. Let's get a divorce. 50-50 split of assets, clean break. I agree to the divorce, I replied, my voice level. You walk away with nothing. Net zero. Impossible, he scoffed. William, have you forgotten the prenuptial agreement you signed? I reminded him, each word precise. The one drafted by my family's lawyers? It contains a very specific infidelity clause. If you cheat, you forfeit all claims to marital assets, including those accumulated during the marriage. It's legally binding. We weren't from the same world financially. His family was comfortable middle class, mine was considerably wealthier. My parents, cautious and protective, had insisted on the agreement. I fought them on it, called them paranoid, worried it would damage the trust between William and me. How naive I'd been. They, the outsiders, had seen something in him. I'd been blind to ambition that perhaps outweighed affection, a potential calculation beneath the charm. Sophia, that's outrageous, he exploded, color rising in his neck. Since we got married, I've paid the bills. My salary is substantial. You expect me to leave with nothing after 8 years? Don't be unreasonable. The negotiation, if you could call it that, ended there, unresolved and acrimonious. But I wasn't worried. Let him stall. Every day he delayed, Amelia remained officially the other woman, a title I suspected wouldn't sit well with either of them for long. William cherished his reputation. I underestimated his next move. The following day, his 4 sisters descended upon my house like a squadron of reinforcements. Elizabeth, the eldest, took the lead, her tone laced with condescending disapproval. Sophia, you need to be more understanding, she began, echoing their mother's traditionalist views. So, he got a little close to an old college friend. They didn't sleep together, did they? It's hardly cheating. Marriage isn't meant to be thrown away at the first bump. You endure, you forgive. That's how life works. The other 3, Catherine, Anne and Jane, stood by silently, their presence a tacit endorsement. And even if you do divorce, Elizabeth continued, warming to her theme, demanding he leave with nothing? That's cruel. Have a heart, Sophia. Think of everything you two shared. He worked so hard to get where he is. Do you really want to force him to start over from scratch? How will he live? What about future children? They cost money, you know. Honestly, she sighed dramatically. I told you years ago, the best way to keep a man is to give him a child. Ties him down. Her words were so ludicrous, so steeped in misplaced loyalty and outdated notions, that they almost made me laugh. Future children. Oh, the irony. They clearly had no idea about the report tucked away. The 0% that rendered their hopes for a biological Ashton heir through William utterly futile. But I wasn't about to enlighten them. Let them cling to that fantasy. Slept together? I countered, my voice dangerously soft. Is that the only definition of cheating now? Holding hands isn't? Kissing isn't? Secret meetings aren't? Elizabeth, I admire your tolerance. Staying in a marriage where your husband spends nights away with his friend. But I'm not you. I'm young. Why would I waste my life on him? As for being heartless, he made the choices. He signed the agreement knowing the consequences. I didn't force him. And worrying about him affording future children? Am I supposed to fund his future family with his mistress? Please. Elizabeth sputtered, momentarily speechless. Catherine, the second sister, stepped forward, deploying the emotional artillery. Sophia, she began, her eyes welling up. We know William made a mistake. We know you're hurt. But couldn't you just leave him something? Not everything, of course. Maybe just $500,000? It's not much to you. With your family's resources. William had to build everything himself. Please. Tears streamed down her face. Any lingering sadness I felt evaporated, replaced by cold anger at their collective audacity. What does his struggle have to do with me? I shot back. If you want to blame someone, blame your parents for not setting him up better. My money isn't a charity fund for unfaithful husbands. I'd rather donate it to an animal shelter. At least dogs are loyal. Right on cue, Catherine's phone rang. She fumbled with it, accidentally hitting the speakerphone button. William's crisp, cool voice filled the room. Catherine? How's it going? Look, I haven't asked you guys for much over the years, but I need your help now. I've finally found someone I truly love, Amelia. You wouldn't want me to miss my chance at happiness, would you? Sophia won't listen to reason. You need to convince her to give me something. I can't let Amelia start our life together struggling. Catherine frantically silenced the phone, blushing furiously, and retreated to the hallway for a whispered conversation. When she returned, the manufactured sympathy was gone, replaced by undisguised hostility. William's words, however, sparked an idea. You all have lives and problems of your own to worry about, I said, standing up, gesturing towards the door. Perhaps you should focus on those. As soon as they were gone, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to the bank. I requested the statements for the joint savings account William and I maintained our future fund, supposedly for emergencies or children. We rarely touched it, hadn't linked it to online banking or text alerts to avoid temptation. Each month, I transferred my contribution to William, trusting him to deposit both portions on his way to work. The statement showed a withdrawal 3 months prior. $60,000. Purpose noted. Business investment inventory lease. The timing coincided perfectly with Amelia opening her bookstore cafe. My carefully constructed calm finally fractured. He hadn't just cheated emotionally, he'd stolen from our shared future to finance his affair. I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady now with cold resolve. Mom, can I borrow Dad's top litigation lawyer? I need to file for divorce. Sophia? Honey, what happened? Are you okay? The concern in her voice was immediate, palpable even through the phone. William, he's been having an affair. With his college girlfriend. Amelia. She's back. I choked out, the words catching in my throat. The full weight of his deception using me, my family, our money, while pining for another woman hit me anew. All those years I supported him when he was a struggling postdoc, believing in his dreams, covering our expenses, encouraging him. His recent claims that he paid for everything, his dismissal of my contributions, my investments and dividends brought in far more than his salary. Though I never flaunted it, his assertion that I was just lounging at home, it was all calculated cruelty. Oh, Sophia, Mom sighed, her voice heavy with sympathy and a touch of I told you so. Your father and I, we had reservations. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was about values, perspective. We worried you weren't seeing the same world, that he couldn't truly understand or appreciate you. Living a lifetime with someone who doesn't truly see you, it's a lonely existence. She paused, letting me absorb her words. Don't cry over him, sweetheart. Leaving the wrong person is a stroke of luck, truly. You're young, brilliant. If you're worried about dwelling on things, come back to the office. We could use you. Okay, Mom, I whispered, wiping away a tear. As soon as this is settled, I'll come back. Hesitation wasn't my style. If this marriage was over, it needed to be severed cleanly, decisively. My first act. I contacted the foundation managing the grant for William's project, and, citing breach of personal trust, impacting the funding's original intent, tying it loosely to our shared marital goals he'd used to persuade me, I had the remaining disbursements halted immediately. That evening, he stormed home, radiating fury. Sophia, what have you done? Why did you pull the funding? You know this project is my chance to make partner. Halting the funds now slows everything down, jeopardizes the entire timeline. He paced the living room, shedding his professional composure like a snake shedding skin. You've made me a laughingstock at the observatory. Don't bring our personal issues into my career. He was furious now. He hadn't even seen the worst of it. I met his glare calmly. Did you use $60,000 from our joint savings account to set up Amelia's bookstore? He barely paused, tossing his coat onto the sofa with defiant carelessness. So what if I did? Most of the money in that account came from my salary. I can spend it how I like. I feel obligated to remind you, William, I stated coolly. We are not yet divorced. That account constitutes marital property. Taking that money without my consent is theft. He scoffed, a truly ugly sound. You want to know what I love about Amelia? She's not like you. She's not constantly keeping score, nitpicking, suspicious. She's kind, supportive, gentle. Being with her feels alive. Like when we were young. You're just like your parents. Always treating me like an outsider. Convinced I'm after your money. Well, guess what? You begged me to marry you, remember? Something inside me snapped. The years of swallowing small hurts, of making excuses for him, of believing his carefully crafted facade, it all combusted. My hand moved before I thought, cracking sharply across his cheek. The shock on his face morphed instantly into rage. He shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, landing heavily on the plush rug. He stood over me, rubbing his cheek, a sneer twisting his lips. Me shameless? He spat, his voice dripping venom. I'm pursuing happiness. Is that a crime? Honestly, Sophia, only someone like me could tolerate your demanding, controlling personality. You're too much. You'll never be Amelia. He turned on his heel and stormed out, slamming the front door behind him. I stared at the closed door, the silence ringing in my ears. The fight hadn't brought clarity, only ugliness. The mask was well and truly off. William didn't come home for days. I saw his car parked outside Amelia's shop each evening, watched from a distance as he emerged when she closed up, one arm around her waist, the other sometimes lifting her small son onto his shoulders. They looked like a ready-made family. A week later, armed with my lawyer's advice that I needed more concrete proof than overheard calls and ambiguous photos, I went back to Amelia's bookstore. I'd already activated the tiny pinhole camera, clipped discreetly to my jacket. Still lurking. Amelia greeted me, her smile tight with smug victory. Looks like William isn't as devoted to you as you thought. He is spending all his free time here. Guess money isn't everything, is it? He's willing to fight you for every penny rather than just give in and be free to be with me. Her words were meant to wound, but they gave me an opening. Really, I feigned contemplation. Because it seems to me he values his bank account quite highly. If he loved you that much, wouldn't he just agree to my terms and start his new life? Maybe you're not quite as important as you think. For a second, her confident facade cracked. Doubt flickered in her eyes. You're wrong, she insisted a little too loudly. William adores me. When we broke up back then, he was devastated. He practically lived at a bar for weeks. He'd do anything for me. If he adores you so much, I pressed gently, why isn't he divorced yet? Why hasn't he married you? He needs time to sort things out properly, she stammered, regaining some composure, though a flush crept up her neck. Then a sly, triumphant smile spread across her face, as if remembering her trump card. You want to know where he was last night? Since he clearly wasn't home with you. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through her gallery, and held the screen up for me to see. There was William, shirtless, his usually composed features blurred with passion, kissing her deeply, his head buried in the curve of her neck. Intimate. Undeniable. She leaned closer, whispering conspiratorially. And let me tell you, his technique has definitely improved over the years. The tiny red light on my camera blinked almost imperceptibly. I kept my expression carefully neutral. Well, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. Good for you. I hope you enjoy it. I walked out, heading straight for a pre-arranged meeting at a quiet coffee shop downtown. I handed the small camera to Mr. Harrison, my sharp, no-nonsense lawyer. Is this considered definitive proof of adultery? He previously explained that ambiguous texts and photos of hand holding might not be enough for the stringent terms of the prenup. This, he said, after quickly reviewing the footage on a tablet, coupled with the financial evidence and corroborated timelines, significantly strengthens our position. This moves beyond mere emotional affair. Exhausted but resolute, I returned home. Surprisingly, William was there, enveloped in a cloud of cigarette smoke, something he rarely did indoors. You know, Sophia, he said, his voice strangely detached. People like me, who didn't grow up with money, we cling tightly to what we earn. I fought hard to get where I am, to build some security. You think I'll just let you snatch it away? Because you feel wronged? Think again. He took a long drag, exhaling slowly. Let's see who breaks first. You with your precious emotional purity. This limbo will torture you far more than it tortures me. He knew. He knew my aversion to deceit, my need for honesty. He was weaponizing my own principles against me, watching my pain with cold calculation. All those times he delayed apologies, letting arguments fester. It wasn't emotional cluelessness, it was deliberate manipulation. The attentive housework, the clinginess, were they just parts of the act? William, I said, my voice trembling slightly, not with fear, but with suppressed fury. If you truly valued your security and reputation, you wouldn't be jeopardizing everything for an affair while still married. I was done playing games. I took out my own phone, opened the folder containing copies of his texts with Amelia replete with husband and wife, endearments, the photos I'd taken outside her shop, and the video file from the pinhole camera. I laid the phone on the table between us, letting the images cycle through. So, I asked, my voice low and steady, are we settling this divorce amicably, according to the agreement you signed? Or do I need to schedule a meeting with the head of your department and perhaps some key donors at the observatory? You recorded me? You spied on me. He surged to his feet, snatching the phone and hurling it against the wall. It shattered, screen going black. Doesn't matter, I said calmly. I have backups. Multiple backups. And by the way, William, those rather graphic photos? Your beloved Amelia showed them to me herself. Trying to provoke me. Poor thing. She had no idea I wouldn't shed a tear over losing a piece of trash like you. You calculating bitch, he snarled, breathing heavily. Secret recordings aren't even admissible. Depends on the context and corroborating evidence. I cut him off smoothly. Besides, as I said, we don't necessarily need the courts to enforce the financial agreement. A quiet word in the right ears at the observatory about your conduct, your misuse of grant-adjacent funds, for personal matters, your affair becoming public knowledge, reputation, is everything in your field, isn't it? He stared at me, speechless, his face a mask of impotent rage. Within the hour, he was gone again, slamming the door even harder this time. I didn't sleep well, anticipating the next move. But the following morning brought an unexpected visitor, Jane, William's third sister. The quietest one, the one who hadn't actively participated in the guilt trip. Sophia, she said hesitantly, standing awkwardly on the doorstep. Can we talk for a minute? I braced myself for another round of pleading or accusations. If you're here to try and change my mind, Jane, please don't waste your breath. The divorce is happening, and he gets nothing. Jane surprised me by offering a small, wry smile. I'm not here to change your mind. I came to say you're doing the right thing. Go through with it. I stared at her, momentarily stunned. You support this? Why wouldn't I? She sighed, running a hand through her hair. Like you said, you're young. You shouldn't waste your life shackled to someone who doesn't deserve you. It took me years, and a messy divorce from my own abusive ex, to learn that lesson. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Jane had endured years of mistreatment for the sake of giving her children a complete home, only to realize after leaving that freedom brought more genuine happiness to both her and her kids. Her quiet solidarity felt more strengthening than any legal victory. Looking at her weary but determined face, I decided to share the final, crucial piece of information. Jane, there's something else. You all need to stop pinning your family hopes on William. He has azoospermia, complete infertility. He doesn't know yet. I saw no reason to shield him from this truth any longer. At least not from his family, who might build false hopes. Jane absorbed this, nodding slowly. Right. Well, only Mom and Dad are obsessed with carrying on the Ashton name anyway. You'd think there was a royal title involved. She paused. Thank you for telling me, Sophia. And good luck. You deserve better. Buoyed by this unexpected alliance, I felt a surge of audacious energy. I drove to a party supply store and bought the loudest megaphone I could find. Then, I headed straight for the observatory complex during lunch hour. Standing near the main entrance, I raised the megaphone. Attention everyone. I am Sophia Ashton, wife of Dr. William Ashton. There is something you all need to know about the man you work with. Stop. Sophia, shut up. William came sprinting out of the building, lab coat flapping, one shoe missing, pure panic etched on his face. He lunged, trying to clamp his hand over the megaphone. A crowd was gathering. Murmurs rippled through the onlookers. Isn't that Dr. Ashton's wife? What's she doing with a megaphone? Good grief, is he having an affair? Always seemed so straight-laced. Let her speak. What's the scandal? I lowered the megaphone slightly, meeting William's desperate eyes. So, I asked calmly, what's your decision? Fine. Okay. We divorce, he hissed through gritted teeth, acutely aware of the growing audience. You win. Net zero. Just stop this. It could have dragged through the courts for months, maybe years. But the threat of public humiliation, the immediate destruction of his carefully curated image, was a weapon far quicker and more effective. We were officially divorced by the end of the day. You have 3 days to move your things out, I told him coldly as we left the lawyer's office, the freshly signed papers feeling lighter than air in my hands. He didn't argue. That night, movers arrived, stripping the house of his possessions, leaving echoing spaces where his life used to be. My mother called anxious. It's done, Mom. Divorced. I'll be at the company offices on Monday. I put the brownstone on the market immediately. Too many ghosts, too close to Amelia's shop. I needed a completely fresh start. A few days later, feeling a final, perhaps petty need for closure, I stopped by the bookstore cafe one last time. Amelia met me outside, her son playing near the doorway. Her smile was pure, unadulterated triumph. Sophia, she gloated, you lost. William chose me. She eyed me suspiciously. Don't tell me you're here hoping to run into him? Or maybe take another swing at me? I gestured towards the shop behind her. Neither. I'm here about the $60,000 William invested in this place. Since he agreed to forfeit all marital assets, that money belongs to me. My lawyer has already sent the official demand letter for repayment. Amelia's jaw dropped. The smugness evaporated, replaced by disbelief then panic. That's not his money. That was my savings, she sputtered, the lie weak and unconvincing. My lawyer, Mr. Harrison, who had accompanied me, calmly presented her with copies of the bank statements and the signed divorce decree outlining the asset forfeiture. She frantically called William, who arrived looking harried and defeated. Sophia, this is too much, he pleaded, trying a different tactic. We loved each other once. Do you have to be so vindictive? It's just a small shop. It's how she supports herself and her son. I merely raised an eyebrow. Need me to pay another visit to the observatory, William? Perhaps have a chat with HR about financial impropriety. The color drained from his face. He knew he had no leverage left. 3 days later, the $60,000, minus some minor legal fees, was wired back into my account. I sold the house, moved into a sleek downtown apartment, and threw myself into work at my family's investment firm. I silenced William and Amelia on all social media, blocked their numbers, and focused on rebuilding my life, stronger and more independent than before. Occasionally, through the grapevine or a shared acquaintance's social media slip-up, I heard snippets. William and Amelia got married about 6 months after our divorce, a decidedly low-key affair compared to our lavish wedding. I felt nothing. A flicker of comparison, my wedding was grander than back to my spreadsheets. My mother, ever protective, frequently lectured me on self-reliance and the inherent untrustworthiness of men. While amused by her intensity, I appreciated her concern. One afternoon, about 4 years later, she gasped while scrolling through her phone. "Sophia, that snake William, his wife, Amelia, she had a baby." I paused. "How do you know, Mom?" "We meticulously purged him from our lives." She looked sheepish. "Well, I might have kept a burner social media account just to monitor things, in case he tried to cause trouble. Anyway, the point is, she had a son a few years ago." I nodded slowly. "Don't worry, Mom. It's not his." A mutual friend, horrified by the ongoing deception, had discreetly sent me photos months ago of Amelia entering a hotel with another man during the time she would have conceived. I hadn't needed the confirmation, but it was illustrative. 5 years post-divorce, I was running a significant portion of the family business. My life was full, successful, and entirely my own. While stuck in traffic heading to a meeting one rainy afternoon, my gaze drifted to the sidewalk outside a downtown hospital. A man sat slumped on the steps, looking utterly broken, clutching a medical report. His hair was unkempt, his suit rumpled. "William." He looked older, defeated. The light changed, my driver moved forward, and the image faded in the rearview mirror. A brief, insignificant encounter. A month later, the full story reached me via a call from an old college friend, her voice buzzing with shocking news. "Sophia, thank God you divorced that guy. You won't believe this. William finally found out he's completely infertile. Like zero chance even with surgical intervention." "How on earth did that become public knowledge?" I asked, frowning. "Because it's epic," she exclaimed. "Remember Amelia had that son right after they got married? William apparently doted on the kid, treated him like a prince. They decided to try for another one recently, couldn't conceive, and bam, he gets the news. Which means the first kid isn't his either. He raised another man's child for 5 years, thinking it was his own. Apparently he completely lost it. Got drunk, confronted Amelia, massive fight, Sophia, he killed her. Attacked her in a rage. He's been arrested." A profound chill went through me, followed by a strange, unsettling sense of relief. Not relief at Amelia's fate, but relief that I had escaped. That the implosion had happened far away from me. The time bomb had finally detonated, but I was safely out of the blast radius. I thanked my friend for the update, my voice calm, and hung up. My assistant buzzed in moments later. My new custom-designed briefcase had just arrived. I wouldn't look back. I wouldn't feel pity or regret. Some actions create their own consequences, boomerangs returning with brutal precision. My focus was forward, on the life I had built, free from the shadows of deceit.